meeting, the annual meeting. Okay, do we need to go around the table and introduce? I think everybody knows each other at this point. Shall we? Paul, would you like us to go around?
No, I know you all.
Okay, all right, then let's jump into our first item of business here today, which is approval of our August meeting minutes. Are there any comments, corrections, or concerns? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve? Move. Seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. That was supposed to take an hour and 5 minutes, so we are on to the treasurer and cash disbursement report.
Going back in time. Okay. So we everyone's packet, so we have disbursements. We'll go over that first. Page 1. You can see there were $12,726 in disbursements on the month. Going down the list, we had 3 invoices for us turnkey for property management services. Sorry, 4 invoices right there. Reimbursement to a couple of staff members, so Paul Scuderi for appraiser certification, and Margaret Garcia for the Land Bank Summit lodging. And there were 2 invoices for North Coast for property management services, a water bill to the city for Fort Brooklyn, and then 2 invoices to Day Environmental for environmental consulting on various. Moving over to page 2, the treasurer's report. There was some revenue in the month of September. And it was related to, looks like sales of 2 properties, 77 Sydney and 83 Vinfield. And we have the expense section, which is just reclassification of the disbursements already discussed. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I see no questions and a very thorough review. We move on to the election of officers.
So our executive director has put forward a slate that is the slate of current officers, which is for everyone's benefit. Chairperson Frisch, vice chairperson Wheeler, secretary Shay Harris, and treasurer John Ward.
Yeah, same slate of officers as is currently in place. We're not recommending any changes.
How about 4? One more. There we go. Well, are there?
I think we need both of them, so if someone to make a motion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I just want to make sure everybody's pleased with the slate. There are no new candidates emerging from the field. All right, then do I have a motion to approve the slate of officers? All right, moved and second, moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations to the winners.
Hard fought race.
All right, we have one of many resolutions today. Resolution number 20 is to authorize the sale of 268 Jefferson Terrace.
So.
No, go right ahead.
Okay, so 268 Jefferson Terrace was one of the properties that we acquired at the 2022 tax record auction. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
2022 tax foreclosure auction. It was offered for sale on the Land Bank website. We took applications from developers to show whether they were eligible for some of our purchaser guidelines. And out of the bids that we received from those bidders, eligible bidders, the highest bid was for $15,000 from Artemis Property Holdings. And there, we propose that, or approve that sale, with the advisor that it be, rehabilitated to C of O standard repair.
Have any comments or questions on the resolution before you?
It's a single family house.
It is a single family house.
You know what the outcome is going to be as far as rehabbing it or.
No one has indicated that they would like to live there.
So
Most likely a rental.
Harold, just an FYI, they were offered to the RHDFC and they said no. Too far gone. And it's actually by the alleyway too,
okay.
not very safe.
Which, I'm trying to think which one.
I can't think of it right now, but it's in the alley.
Oh, Rockland.
I think that's the one.
Yeah. I see
Yep.
it. Right. Rockland and Jefferson. Same.
What was the price?
15,
15. Just
which was the minimum bid, which was the appraised value.
That's how.
more as a matter of practice, we pretty much offer everything to the RHDFC, see if they want to include it in Home Rochester.
And the same thing
That's
with
what
the
my
next.
pictures it looks like.
Yeah.
No, printed them. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's the one I'm showing the first time.
Right.
Any further comments, or questions on the resolution?
Just, so this would be just. Never mind, I'm all set. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion. Yeah, second, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next resolution of the day, authorizing the sale of 83 Ridgeway.
Very similar to the previous resolution that was offered on our website for the a minimum bid of the appraised value. And we did receive, I believe we received 3 offers on this one. This is the highest. 36,100. Again, all pre-qualified bidders, and we have within 1 year. Yeah.
It's a pre-qualified buyer.
And none of the 3 indicated owner occupants was the final.
Do they own, do we know if they own other properties in the city? This. Maybe not under this LLC.
Yes, they do. And we've checked all of their properties and they are all
In good condition.
in good condition, no code violations, all have certificates of occupancy.
Mhm.
So,
And taxes too. And taxes too.
and taxes, yes, taxes are paid.
All that goes into being a group buyer.
Yes, yes.
Any comments, thoughts, questions, concerns, jokes?
And this is for this property, 83 Ridgeway, and the previous one. How long did they stay up for sale?
We put them out.
It was for about a month
1 month, 4 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
Before we did the showing.
before we did the showing, yes.
We just also send notifications out to all of the people from their email list and the city's email list.
I just really wish we can do, I think the first time buyers or something, but.
There are several properties still in our inventory for just that purpose, but these seem not to be a suitable investment. for
They
an affordable
didn't garner that interest though.
homeowner.
Uh,
This is, and they weren't accepted by RHDFC.
Right, that's a key consideration that RHDFC was offered both of these properties.
Mhm.
They declined due to the condition, the cost of it, to bring it to state of good repair,
Mm.
thereby making it not affordable.
Is there a way, and I know that you typically go under contract with the HDFC, but is there a way to solicit for others who are specifically interested in doing homeownership?
Other developers or
Other
owner
developers.
occupants?
Other developers and owner occupants?
Well, there are several properties that we are still having our inventory with the intent to sell to owner occupants. With adequate subsidy. Marketing to developers, I mean, it's. Many of the people on our email list are people who are looking for properties to purchase. In order to ensure that they go to an owner occupant, it would seem like we would need to offer some sort of incentive. In the past, we've done it by discounting their bid price. Which certainly is an option. But it would seem that currently, we're interested in making sure that adequate subsidy gets to owner occupants who are buying directly from the land bank as opposed to people who are going to rehab. And then turn it into owner occupant, an owner occupant structure. So it's certainly something we can look at, and I think a discount might be the way to go at this point, but if for some reason there's subsidy that's not being used by purchasers who are buying directly from the land bank, that's certainly another option that we should look to going forward with this company.
Just maybe just having a discussion about how can we, structures like that could be attractive to other developers.
But we also take into account, if these properties are very far gone, to put an owner occupant in there with hardly no funds.
Like, no, definitely in that, but I'm talking about a developer other than HDFC that would be able to actually rehab the property to the standard for owner occupants.
Is there a way that, in piggybacking off her, is there a way we can consider connecting with like Habitat for Humanity or someplace like that, that can maybe look
We
at?
do. We
Wait,
do.
did
And
they go-
right now, they
did-
were into new builds. But I have done rehabs with them also. Just currently, they haven't wanted any properties. I did offer them one, and which they did the one across the street from, and they turned it down. So, yeah, we do that.
They've done a few rehabs, but that's not what they do.
I know they do new builds.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just didn't know,
That's what I-
we're dealing with a high housing crisis, of course, trying to,
Mhm.
think of ways that we can.
They've definitely done rehabs with.
Yeah,
land
they've
bank
done,
previously.
they've done,
Mm.
Habitat has done with us, but, and I think they did in the past.
Probably, yeah, it's probably around that
Yeah.
number, yeah,
Yeah.
but they've
time.
pulled back from doing rehabs now, they're
Oh,
focusing more on
yeah.
new builds. Again,
Let's see if we can identify others who may be able to do this. work.
If you can identify others and give us a list,
We are always looking for partners.
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
finding them. So we will
Yeah.
certainly continue.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, concerns on the resolution? If not, do we have a motion to approve? Is there a second? Second. Moved in seconds. Is that right? Yeah. So, yeah. Approved. We move on to resolution number 22, authorizing acceptance of the ESL Community Impact Grant.
No. Because we used to fill.
yeah, we use that national level.
So this is exciting. Very happy to see this.
And so. Resolution 22. The land bank. Along with its development partner, applied for supplemental funding to support its affordable homeownership opportunity program application, also known as AHOP. And applied to the USL Foundation for the Community AHOP grant and was awarded the full amount we requested, a $550,000 grant award as part of multiple layers of subsidized funding. The project intends to construct 20 single-family attached and detached units, scattered site, but within one neighborhood on infill lots. We have submitted the AHOP application and are working through that process at this time. So this funding would not be available to the land bank. It's awarded, but we would not be, the funds would not be dispersed until we have all of our funding lined up. So getting through this AHOP application process is definitely that, right?
Yes, it is. This grant is a welcome step towards getting the project. So that is great, and kudos to that bank staff.
Yes.
Any questions or comments on this resolution?
Did we receive any indication from New York State as far as from the decision?
We got an email from Thomas Abbott earlier this week that said he was anticipating by the end of this week having, any questions that came up back to us, but certainly not an acceptance. So there's the first acceptance where they accept the preliminary application, then there's the process of underwriting. That will be a much more significant process. But I will keep you all posted.
Thank you. All right, well then, do we have a motion? So. Is there a second? All right, thank you very much. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries with one. Recusal. Please, welcome back.
Yeah.
Vote that's in the chapter.
I think.
Oh, that's what that's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. The fourth and final resolution.
Oh, no, yes. Okay.
Readopting the approved policies.
Yeah, so each year, the New York State Public Authorities Law, the Reform Act requires that this board, re-adopt the existing policies of the land bank. In the next page, you'll see all of the bullet point listing of all of our policies. I don't expect you all to memorize them, but there's quite a few of them there. We did make changes to 2 of them this year, if you all remember. Very recently, we changed our FOIL, our Freedom of Information Law policy. We changed it to align with the cities. We were using a slightly different, pretty much the same procedure, but there was some changes here or there with it. We kind of aligned it to use the exact same policy, which is the internal system, the FOIA. If anybody's ever gotten a FOIA request, it comes through FOIA. So the land bank is going to be using that. It allows us to use all the resources of the city law and land bank council. So that was the change there. And then the city's property acquisition policy was changed, also to align more with the city. So we did make some slight changes. That one was minor, but we did make a couple of minor changes. So we're just asking that the board re-adopt all of the current policies as they stand right now.
All right, do we have any questions on any of those policies? The action before us? Seeing none, we have a motion to. Thank you. Second? Anybody? Second, sounds great. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to our presentation and approval of our audited financial statement.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like we have the audited statements within the annual report here. So we're gonna talk about audited statements first. You can open the annual report and start with page, let's see.
35. Well, 36.
So this is the second year of using EFPR auditors. Last year was their first with us. We had an audit committee meeting 2 weeks ago. With one of the partners from EFPR, and the long and the short of it is we have a clean audit. So, no marks, nothing to report on, nice and clean. So credit to staff and everybody involved. The one thing I'll get something you want to. Okay, one thing that the EFPR rep did bring to our attention, which everybody's aware of, is timing related to the ARPA funds and making sure that we sign those down. With federal guidelines, we're all aware of that and working towards that. If there's any questions, I'll take them, bring it to the audit committee wants to say anything. Don't then. Clean audit.
Yeah, and that's a good thing that you actually point out, John, yeah, is that it wasn't just a clean audit, they didn't even have a recommendation. It was as clean an audit as you'll ever see. I mean, auditors are paid to find something, like tea that's not crossed, something.
So clean, you can see your reflection.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Anything to say?
The final.
So it's draft, you can come before the board here for review. Once after this meeting is concluded, it'll become.
And at that time, will you be able to forward it?
Yeah.
To secretary?
Yep.
Okay,
You want, hard copies or electronic?
electronic.
Are we approving this separate from the annual report?
So that, based on what I have here, I think we approve this now and then we approve the constituent reports as part of the whole document.
All right.
The others constituent reports, so.
All right, well then, so we have a motion to approve the audited financial statements. I'll make this motion. Do we have a second? Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Indeed.
Nobody look at anything else in the annual report.
Yeah.
Take one, pass it down.
Oh.
More paper. More paper.
More please.
This is all recycled and then we put it right back in and it comes back out.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
think we got that funding for more trees.
Okay, slightly different, but importantly. I like it too.
Everything else in the annual report book
Would be
is updated in what is now being distributed.
in.
So you will look at it and put the other one. We're going to review the annual report with us.
I'm going to start and then people are gonna stop me if I get it wrong.
Is this a game like we're supposed to?
When?
Okay, so if you've been here, which you might have been, this is essentially the same. There are sections, the annual report that happens in September is a function of public authority law, and there are sections that need to happen. There's like a guidebook that's on the website as to what needs to be in it. So it's not like our March report where it's a reflection of who we are as much as it is a reflection of who we should be as a public authority. So point out, the pool was on the board of directors through the end of the 23-24 fiscal year, and that will be an important date for everybody to remember because things have happened since then. But this is all through June 30th, 2024. So, sorry, I'm passing. We have our committees here, who later in this meeting, we will be, we'll need to reconfigure as, one member of multiple committees, retires. And then we have, notice of the attendance of board members at board meeting. Noting that the June meeting was canceled. There is an acknowledgement that no managerial employees were paid in excess of $100,000. There is our organizational chart with our committees outlined. It notes the relationship between the city and the land bank. On the next section. And then there is our mission statement, which we will also be voting through here. Provided that it's acceptable, it's been the same since it was initially voted in 2013. Then there's the corporate purpose from our articles of incorporation of the states. We have no active subsidiaries currently. And it notes the board of directors as they are described in the organizing legislation, which is included here later. So the titles may not match everyone's title, but they are the previous incarnations. And if you're here, you are decided that you were one of these people. We have the audited financial statements, which are voted upon, which will be posted on the website. There's noted our 11 board. Then we go into our accomplishments. We had 14 acquisitions during the 23-24 fiscal year. 12 of those were from the tax foreclosure auction. It was a much smaller auction than we anticipated, and a much smaller list than we anticipated, but we were able to secure 12 properties. Those were residential structures. One of those was a 2-family residential structure. 7 of those properties will be rehabilitated for homeownership programs. 5 of them through the RHDFC, which those properties had not closed at the end of the fiscal year, but have now closed with RHDFC. And then there are 2 properties that the land bank will be putting into its own occupancy program. The remaining 5 properties are in such a condition that it's not likely that they could be rehabilitated for homeownership. One of those properties, as I mentioned, is a 2-family that may go into a program where the land bank will rehab the property for sale, then to an income qualified purchaser for use as a rental property. We talked about that as part of the properties that were approved to be rehabilitated by the MD developer earlier this year. So that may go into that program. The remaining 2 properties, one was a property that had been a home Rochester property that had a fire, and it was vacant due to an incomplete rehabilitation subsequent to the fire. So we were able to take title to that, and that will be also put into our owner occupancy program, the land bank's own owner occupancy program. And there was one vacant lot, which was adjacent to a lot that, to a property that we acquired in 2022 at the tax foreclosure auction, and we will be combining that so that the lot is outside with, comparable with neighboring lots, and to make it more. Next is the ARPA award. So the owner occupancy program, of which we speak, is part of that ARPA award, so the idea is that properties will be purchased with these funds and then rehabilitated with a portion of these funds. And then sold to owner occupants who will be able to, who are income qualified and qualify for a mortgage from headquarters, who is willing to do consumer lending with very favorable terms, in part because there is a land bank established loan reserve fund for applicants. So that is where some of the monies have gone. We have also gone for city council to ensure that those funds can also be used to support our affordable homeownership opportunity program application. So that resolution, that ordinance is secured, and so a portion of those funds will also be part of that new construction project for the 20 single-family homes. Next is LBI 1. Phase 1 is the funding that comes from the state for operational activities. Last year, that amount was increased to 150,000 from 100,000. We made that request. It was not initially granted because of what was in our budget expenditure line at the time that we initially submitted an application, but we talked about that at the time. We received that additional $50,000. We used those funds to continue to support staffing as well as property manager services and to contribute to the increased insurance costs based on our inventory, holding properties longer and requiring them to be in condition to be shown and scoped as a result of our owner programs that we go toward. We have put in the request for renewal at the same level, which is not what our budget shows to be spent. LEI phase 2 is the project-based funding that we received from the state. Much of the funding that was this year, we were able to purchase one property in our targeted geographic area with these funds. There was acquisition funding for that. We also spent a good portion of the funds doing environmental investigation and title investigation on the vacant lots that would be used for the affordable homeownership program. Info lots, both those owned by the land bank and those that intend to purchase for the project. No, that's it for fiscal year 2024. And then our grant term officially ends December 2024 for these funds. And continues. Administrative activities. By the time we post this, the board, we hope, will approve all of these constituent reports. And then, unless John has an objection, the treasurer has an assessment of the internal controls is that they are active. Right. And then in the document itself are the essentially the balance statement, financial statement, and income statement below it. We have that backwards. Anyway, this is our money and what we have in the bank and what we've spent for this year, which is also in the financial report. So we're about $200,000 ahead in terms of our net position from the previous year. We hope to spend much of that, as well as the grant funds with our activities this year. So, but we are well into the black. Next page talks about commercial plan, which is the budget which was on. We issue no bonds. We do not make direct grants or subsidies. Not currently operating. Have any operating financial risks as shown by our audit. With no long-term liability. That right? Okay. Our real property schedule, which follows, will show that we disposed of 3 properties with a value in excess of 15,000. Yeah. This statement is not correct. You'll see in the attached procurement report that there are 6 procurements that were made. That change. As opposed to no. So, but we will cover them. So there were 6 services, they're all services procured during the current fiscal year, and I will have them as we move forward. Is that right? Oh, without competitive bidding. Okay, get that. Sorry. That's correct. And then we have a
And then
procurement
there's
report.
procurement.
And then there's- Okay.
Yes.
Here we are at the board member evaluation summary. I have noted that one board member abstained from the evaluation. That board member did not abstain. If you look at this document, everything that is a 6 here is now a 7, and everything that is a 5 here is now a 6. And the ones, which are the important part, because they're not the we're doing everything perfect, are still in place, and we will certainly, if the board is inclined to do so, schedule time to have a discussion about how we can move closer to all segments in this coming fiscal year in these areas. So one of which is decisions made by board members are arranged are arrived at through independent judgment and deliberation, free from political influence or self-interest. The board needs to review and approve all documents and records prior to public release and is confident that the information being presented is accurate and complete. Board members have sufficient opportunity to research, discuss, question, and prepare before decisions are made and votes are taken. Individual board members will have the power to delay votes, defer agenda items, or table actions if they feel additional information or discussion is required. And the board exercises appropriate oversight of the executive director and other staff, including setting performance expectations and reviewing performance annually. So those are areas that we can certainly arrange for time for the board to discuss. Next is the performance measures report, which is a report that looks at the extent to which we are supporting the mission, the items in our mission statement. And so those bolded sections are segments of our mission statement. The first is to return underutilized property to productive use. And it describes the 12 properties that were able, tax foreclosed, blighted properties that we were able to take from the tax certificate auction, and what the disposition of those properties will be once returned to productive use. Preserve and create quality housing. We call out the 7 properties that will be part of the no, these are 7 properties that were sold to pre-qualified purchasers who are required to complete rehab within 1 year. There's not the requirement that they be on occupied properties for the 7 properties. The additional 5 that we purchased at the 2023 tax closure auction will be going to Rochester. And then the RP for the developer will allow for the rehabilitation of 3 properties prior to sale. So we know that they would be a high level of rehabilitation and provide quality housing. And there's the support of the LBLG subsidy for that. Enhancing the quality of life of the neighborhood. while the land bank does do work throughout the city of Rochester, the grant funds that we were awarded by the state, we have called out a particular area of the city where we will invest in a more intensive way, which will be augmenting a great deal of investment from other not-for-profit developers in the city itself. So that is a particular neighborhood that we are trying to invest in, help turn another. The LBI phase 2 funding has gone there to a large extent. And the AHOP project that we are proposing is also in that neighborhood. We also use the funds to purchase a property in that neighborhood that could potentially be rehabilitated to two-family. We purchased that with LBI funds. Encourage economic opportunities. Again, referring to the RFP that we released to encourage Black and brown business owners, developers or general contractors to submit proposals to rehabilitate properties. We were able to contract the 3 of the 5 properties that we offered with one currently certified minority business owner. There's still 2 properties that have not been assigned a developer, so we could certainly make this sort of targeted RFP offering again. We've also contracted with 2 property managers during this fiscal year. We went out again for property management, and we chose 2 rather than a single property manager. This is arranged that they are working in different geographical areas, which allows them to be much more efficient in how they're using those time to stay on top of unauthorized occupants of vacant properties on inventory. So that has worked out very well. And it's a relationship with entities that we've not previously worked with, and they are looking to use. Encouraging opportunities. Building organizational capacity. We have that 50% increase in our operational award for RBI phase 1 that has gone to, as we mentioned, staff reimbursement, as well as the property manager contracts, just as property manager contracts, which certainly has increased capacity. Land Bank staff attended the National Land Bank Network Summit in Cleveland, Ohio, which is a significant opportunity that is put on by the Center for Community Progress, which also puts on the Claiming Vacant Property conference. This one was specifically for land banks, and it was the first that was in person for land banks. So it was a very good opportunity to talk about best practices specifically related to what land banks do around the country. And there was a great deal of guidance about how land banks should be looking at acquiring properties, given the changes that may come or have come now since the Tyler v. Hamilton report decision. So that was very useful. Land Bank staff also continues to participate with the New York Land Bank Association, which is a valuable state association. They are actually the president of the Office for Community Renewal is in the National Land Bank Summit circular this month, and the funds that are directly for land banks are largely due to the advocacy by the New York Land Bank Association. So those funds that are funding these programs she's talking about are largely due to the lobby of that entity. Next is when it's online, it will be a link to the Land Bank Act, which is Article 16 of New York State Not-for-Profit Corporation Law. And then there is our organizing legislation. Ordinance 12. And we will link to the bylaws, which are as part of our policy online. And same with the code of ethics. Next is the budget and financial plan that this board approved. In 2023, just what we are our funding. It has to be approved by April of the previous year. So that will, we'll have an opportunity for next year's. Next is our real property report. This is not the full inventory of landing properties or the full disposition law. This is specifically what has happened to properties that were either acquired or disposed of within this fiscal year. So even though only 14 were acquired, there are properties from the previous fiscal year that are still in our inventory that are noted here or that have been disposed of during the current fiscal year. I won't go through each one. I will note that note the stars that call out certain and that about certain things that keep in mind. The highlighted properties were under contract for disposition but had not closed by the end of the fiscal year. You might call that out. They have already been sold in our contract. The properties that have 1 star were purchased at the tax foreclosure auction prior to the time of the event. The 2 stars, the land bank board approved transfer at cost to not-for-profit developers. So those are the properties that went to the RHDFC. That is why they were transferred without a competitive bid. And then the one with 3 stars, those are the properties that we donated back to the city so that the city could handle the demolition of those properties. It was found not to be so. The next, Appendix I, is the procurement report that had some confused because we have 6 procurements this year, which is more than ever before. We have pulled out the appraisers. Brooklyn is one of those appraisers because the land bank had an actual line in their contract, so this is now, instead of the reimbursement of the city, was actually paid for these appraisals. These are all procurements that are $5,000. Day Environmental is an environmental consulting service that performs work related to the LBI2 redevelopment activities. If you, Frontier Abstract is a title company. We put out an RFP for a title company and got under contract with Frontier Abstract. They perform title services for us under our own contract. Taylor, Prayer, and Coon is the how the city here's insurance, and so our insurance is it's as a component unit of the city, but we pay purchase orders and we pay purchase orders in excess of $5,000, so that is also a procurement here of the land bank. New Engineers, another environmental services consultant. PPOs. Midland Appraisal is another appraiser that we appraises for. And then here are our 3 property managers that were in place during this past fiscal year. So there's North Coast and Turnkey, who are current property managers. And then the previous property manager, Redo, which their contract concluded during the current fiscal year. Next is our investments guidelines and investments. Well, no, next is our investment report. We have no. And then our investment guidelines. Is called out. And then as part of that, the audited financial statements are exhibit of that town. So now that it's all the slate,
It was a lot.
it's a lot.
Uh,
We did some stuff. I thought we didn't, but we did some stuff.
we did. We're gonna be probably speaking even longer next. Given how busy.
I'm gonna put it up and make Cindy talk.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Moved and seconded. So one question I had was just, is how the reports are listed on the agenda. Is that order taken from the act, or is it, are these like the required reports?
Those are the required reports taken from this document that shows you how to put together an annual report for the Public Authorities Board. So we just took that out of there, and put that in here, except for this committee memberships thing. That's just something we. I mean, we have committees, but it's not, doesn't necessarily be part of the board, but.
Right.
It's a report who's on.
I just had another question. I know that for health in phase 2, the deadline for the term ends December 2024. Would we spend down all those resources by then?
We will not. We will be spending a great deal at the tax foreclosure auction, which will certainly help. But we have been encouraged to continue to spend, and as we spend up to a certain amount, to request an extension from the funds we currently have. So we have, when we attended the New York Land Bank Association Conference, Crystal, who is the runs that office, that we have to spend a certain amount, but we don't want to take it back. We have enough as it is. We can't approve an extension until we can see that the funds are going.
Do we have a sense? I know it's very early since I haven't had the tax foreclosure sales. But we have a sense of what we have to do with that sale. It's 50% expenditure.
Of the LBI.
5%. Okay.
Let's see.
Well, for that matter, where are we right now?
But we're not quite 10%, so, because it's $900,000. And the idea is that many of those funds would be going into rehab that has been taken longer too. So we expect that after the tax foreclosure auction, will probably be between 30 and 40% from that auction. But we also want to make sure that there are the funds that we anticipated for rehab still available. For rehab. We're also working to get those funds out of the door before it.
Yes. So the structures that are demolished, in here, we said that the assessment, we determined that they're not salvageable. Do we do a assessment before the purchase?
So we can't go inside before the purchase, but we do look at all of the code enforcement information we can. We do drive by and we get an exterior appraisal on each property. And we then went inside and found that those were not adequate to determine the actual state of the structures. And so those have all subsequently been demolished. One of the things that we think had an impact on that was how long it had been since the previous tax foreclosure auction. So the market had just been stagnant. There had not been any movement that, you know, they weren't changing hands to other people either. So. Just made that kind of difference in future. Tax foreclosure that certainly didn't happen this year.
Is there a place in the report that speaks to those that might have income to live or participate in the number that occupied?
There's nothing specifically in the report about which properties will be owner occupied. We do call out that we transferred some properties to RHC and for owner activity and reserve some properties in our inventory for our own. There's not a separate section. Same.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the annual report? If not, we have a motion to approve our annual report. Been keeping busy today. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Well done, thanks, staff, for the work that goes into putting together such a lengthy and comprehensive report. We appreciate it. Are there any other items for the good of the board today? Anything you wish to add, Paul, while we're here?
A couple individuals, but.
Okay, well then. All right, great. Then I like to make a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. How about this time?
Oh, wow, maybe we'll keep this meeting going for a while.
Second goes.
And the bills carry. We stand adjourned. I apologize.